I wanted to make a video, and I guess we could call this video, Why Live in Luxury? A while back ago, I was doing some ministry in a juvenile center, and one of the question was asked, what's your dream in life? And one of the kids goes, to get a job and to be able to buy a house. And I said, to explain to him, I says, is it hard to, it's kind of like, is it hard to buy a house? And I think most people think it is. And it is for most. I says, do you want to get yourself jump started? I says, okay, you go to it and you want to own a house. You go to it and get out of high school, find a full-time job that has overtime and is paying $20 an hour. So you go to it and you work that job and you're working 40 hours a week. You're making $20 an hour is $44,000 a year, say, at 2,200 hours a year. So you made working that job making $44,000. Now say you can work 30 hours a week overtime. And 30 hours a week times 20 is 600 a week is another 30,000. So you're up to $74,000 before taxes you made working 70 hours a week. I says, you want to get a good jump start over everybody else. Don't go to school. Go to it and work 70 hours a week for 3 years. You're making, what was it, $74,000 a year. You're paying 20 in taxes. You're down to $54,000. Say your parents will let you live with them for 4 years. And you're living with them for 4 years and not paying much in taxes, and no insurance, no taxes, no rent, no nothing. And you're able to save a lot of money. So say you're tired from working that many hours and you don't go much anywhere, but you stay home and you be helpful for your parents. Or maybe you don't want to live with your parents and you got a buddy and you could rent a couch. You don't spend no money and nothing, and all you do is work your butt in the ground. And you live as simple as you can and you spend very little money. So I don't know what I said before. After taxes, $54,000. Say it cost you $10,000 to live. That left you with $44,000. Even if $40,000, say, and that's realistic if you're really careful and don't spend no money. You're working your butt off. So say you put away $40,000 that year, and the next year you put away $40,000 because you want to buy a house. So you get in the Midwest and some of these places in these smaller towns, and I'm sure down south, these smaller towns, you can go to it and you can buy some of these houses in our local town, 15 miles away, a guy just bought a house. He didn't have much, but he bought a house for $40,000. Well, you can just imagine what he got. But in that situation, that guy could work his butt off for 1 year, and dang near have that house paid off in 1 year. No payments. Even if you bought an $80,000 house and you worked your butt off for 2 years and was able to put 40 away, or just say 70,000 away and 35,000 put away each year, and it's paid off in 2 years. Even if it takes 3 years, an older house, you work your butt off and don't spend no money. But after 3 years, that house is paid for. And in those 3 years you bought this house, it's a rundown piece of junk, and you're fixing it up yourself, and you're raising its value. So now what do you got? You got no payments. If you buy a $70,000 house and you pay $1,000 in taxes a year in that house, $1,000 insurance, and $1,000 in repairs, and no interest payments, you've just put $3,000 in expenses to own that house. Now, say you own a $300,000 house and it's costing you, maybe this ain't right, but say $4,000 in taxes, $4,000 insurance, $1,000 in repairs, and you got a big house, so you're always buying stuff, and you spend $1,500 a year. And say you're spending $16,800 a month in payments. I don't remember what I put that per month. $16,800 a year in payments on that house. So now what you got is you just spent $27,300 on that house, that $300,000 house. Because of interest payments, it's costing you $27,300 to maintain and pay taxes and insurance and everything. Where the other house was paid off and you have $3,000 in it. So maybe there's some things that ain't right in these figures, but $27,300 to $3,000 leaves you $24,300 to work with. Why do you want to buy a big, expensive $300,000-$400,000 home, you young people? And put yourself in debt the rest of your life and make your wife have to work. You lived in this piece of junk house and you fixed it up nice and you saved yourself $27,000. Now, if you get into vehicles, I got another one here where if you could buy a nice car and you're making payments of $8,400 a year, $700 a month. The difference between a 30 mile per gallon vehicle that's old and a new vehicle is $14,000 for the extra fuel, taxes, insurance, payments. And payments are putting you in debt. And the difference there is about $14,000. So 24 and 14 is $38,000. And that don't include two vehicles if you're married and got two nice vehicles. Another one that was interesting the other day, 25% of vehicles are upside down, meaning if they was to go trade them off, they got more against it than what it's worth. So what I'm working toward is, why do people want to own these fancy houses, these expensive houses, and put themselves into debt? If they buy it at 30 years, they got a 30-year mortgage. They're going to get that house paid off. They're going to make payments for 30 years. Or why not work your butt off when you're young? Just put yourself in the ground. Work 2 full-time jobs. All you got time to do is sleep. And sure, you pay a lot in taxes, but look at what you can do with what you got to start with versus working 4 years and putting $160,000 in the bank, or even $100,000. To be conservative, you should be able to do more than that if you're tight. And versus having $60,000 in debt. That's $160,000 between the two of them. Do you know how much flipping debt, how long it's going to take you to pay that $160,000 off? And then if you buy a house on top of it, 7 or 8 out of 10 people are living paycheck to paycheck. And a lot of people look pretty good, wealthy, but they're living paycheck to paycheck because of payments. Debt strangles you, man. Live simple. Have a garden. Don't go on these when I was growing up, we'd walk the creeks for turtles and stuff. And we just mud, muck. But we had so much fun. We did so many things because we didn't have no money. And we weren't given money. And we had so much fun, and we learned how to be simple and not want everything. How much is envy and jealousy destroy people because they just can't handle. Somebody gets remodels. Years ago, nobody had a nice house. Everybody's house was old. And nobody remodeled it. So there's no jealousy, envy, keeping up with the Joneses. Then the 80s come along, and one person starts remodeling, the next one, well, we need to do that. We need to do that. People started getting a little more money, and before long, debt comes on, and look at what the heck we got. 1.4, 1.1 trillion in credit card debt at 25% probably. Oh my gosh. Crack down. Don't go out to eat. Don't go to the clothing stores or the furniture stores. Wash your own dishes. Dishwashers last 4 years now. Crack down. Don't spend a dime unless you absolutely have to. Get yourself out of debt. And then you ain't in debt to the debtor. Because a person can be a stay-at-home mom, or a person can be a stay-at-home dad. But you got to do it correctly. You can't straddle yourself with debt. And the best gift you have is when you get out of high school and work your butt off before you get married and before you have kids, or if you get married, before you have kids. Husband and wife both working 70 hours a week. Get yourself established. Get your house paid off. Drive old vehicles and have them paid off, and you got no debt. The difference is phenomenal. In China right now, everybody thought the place you put your money was in a housing. They'd have to pay for these houses, or start making payments before it was even started constructing. They were making payments. Everybody put their money into housing. Now, everything blew up. China Observer, YouTube, what's going on over there is phenomenal. And they're done. They couldn't make payments. They lost their jobs. They couldn't make payments. And they're done. They're moving back to the country and where they came from, because they can't live for the cost of living, and there's no jobs. There's such a thing as recessions and depressions. And you got to be organized so you're out of debt when these recessions or a 100-year depression hits. It's been 100 years since we have a depression. There's a 100-year cycle. Buckle down. Sell that vehicle. Buy a clunker. I drive a 1989 Geo Metro. They get 45, 55 miles to the gallon. It's a piece of junk. But I can drive that thing all over the country for basically nothing. Versus some of these people making $700, $800 a month payment, $8,000, $9,000, $7,000 a year in payments. That's the difference between having one vehicle and using it wisely, and having your wife stay home with their kids. Some would say it's impossible for a stay-at-home wife. In California, yes. But you figure it out how you can live cheaply. There's people, I remember my brother-in-law saying how a couple went to California, and the cost of living, it was so high out there, and it is. But what they did, they bought a house out there, and 3 generations lived in that house. So instead of 3 families living in 3 houses, 3 in 1 house. They just made their payments and their cost 1/3. 1/3 to sewer, 1/3 to water, kind of. 1/3 to taxes. That's smart. But can you get to where you can get along with each other and figure out how to get along with each other by being selfless and loving and not being lazy and selfish? You know, one thing I do if I was a single guy, I'd find an old person who needs help, is getting close to being in a nursing home, and I'd get a reputation of being kind and loving and giving and honest. And I'd start living with these old people and helping them out so they could stay in their home if they wanted to stay in their home, because the cost of living in an assisted living is shit. You're talking $9,000 a month. If they can stay living in their home, and you can love on them well and bless them and make meals and clean for them and do snow and mowing and do all this stuff for them, and you treat them right, they're going to just be so tickled of having you there. And now you're living in this house for nothing, because if it's free rent. Sure, it's taking you some time, but geez, oh Pete, you're working a full-time job plus helping these people before and after work, and you're making them your life and blessing them. Look what you got. There are ways of getting yourself jump-started to get a good start in life so that you can have it easy without being burdened with insurance and taxes. I catch myself thinking sometimes this may sound crazy for most, but I get out of high school and I live in my car over the summer, all summer long, and I work 80 hours a week. And I go to the Y to get a shower and get exercise and this and that and be around people some. Because when you're working your butt off, all you want to do is sleep anyway because you're tired. All you need is a bed. You don't need this extravagant of a house. So I don't know. I'm throwing a lot of different stuff and I'm drifting into different areas here now. What I'm getting at though is debt strangles you. Sell that big house and buy something. Figure out a way to live simple and work hard. Work hard when you're young before you have kids, so when you have kids, you can slow down and be a father or be a mother and treat them, love them well, and give them your time. This baloney of wives working and stressed out and eating out all the time, getting fast food because they're tired and wore out and busy and running the sports and doing this and doing that. It ain't healthy for your family, and it ain't healthy for you, and it stresses you out big time, more than you probably realize. Where you simplify everything and figure it out, get out of debt, and then become a single mom, stay-at-home mom, so that you can bless your kids and do it right. Just a lot of thoughts, but some of this stuff I just want you to ponder on and think on, because it is a big deal. God bless you.